Keir Starmer recently faced his first tough questioning from the Senior Commons Liaison Committee, where Senior MP Alistair Carmichael pressed him hard on a significant farming tax blunder. Watch how Carmichael completely dismantled Starmer's position.
Prime Minister, as Mr Burns said earlier, in the long run we're all dead, so that tees me up rather nicely for a few questions about inheritance tax, and in particular the changes to agricultural property relief and business property relief announced by the Chancellor in the budget. Prime Minister, who were the targets for these changes? Was it the super rich sheltering wealth? Was it the family farmers, or was it both?
The purpose was to raise revenue in the budget, so it wasn't aimed at a particular group of individuals. Without going over it again, we inherited a really bad situation. We took the clear view that we couldn't hit the pay packets of working people, but we needed to raise revenue because without raising revenue we couldn't have done what we're doing, for example, on the NHS, massive injection into the NHS, much needed. So the driving purpose, if you like, was to raise the necessary revenue from a number of different places, including this, but it wasn't targeted at this group or that group. What we tried to do with the regime we put in place was to protect the family farm in putting in a high threshold for inheritance tax for farms, which means that if you take the figures on the estates for farms, the vast majority of them are unaffected by the changes we put in place, but we weren't aiming at a particular group.
Okay, so it was a revenue-raising measure primarily. Does that mean that the government no longer adheres to the original purpose of these reliefs, which was to ensure the succession of family farm from generation to generation?
Well, no, we wanted to raise the revenue necessary, but also to recognise that family farms need to be protected, which is why instead of taking a view which that this should all simply be the rules, as it were, that applied to other inheritance, that there'll be still special rules within it with the thresholds that we put in place, and of course the fact that even when the threshold triggers the payment of tax, that tax is paid at 50% the rate that other people would pay, and it's over a 10-year period, interest-free. That's not available elsewhere, and so that's the fair balance between raising the revenue and the protection we want to put in place.
When it comes then to super rich people sheltering their wealth by buying land, that's still going to be quite an attractive option, isn't it?
Well, we weren't aiming at a particular group.
You don't think you're comfortable with the super rich sheltering their wealth by buying land?
Well, what we tried to do was get the balance right and to protect the family farm. Look, what the very wealthy do with their money within the rules is a matter for them. But what we wanted to do was to raise the revenue necessary because we had to not only balance the books in the budget, we had to make important investments in things like health services in schools. That meant we had to raise revenue, and that's why we did this amongst other measures. But at the same time, we wanted to put in thresholds that ensures in the average case, the vast majority of family farms, could be passed on without being affected by the inheritance tax. That was the scheme and the purpose of it.
So how many family farms do you think are going to be caught by this?
Well, we've been through the figures on this, and just to wrap
I can help you here. HMRC say that there were about 500 claims for agricultural property relief.
Yeah. So
is that a robust figure for those who will be caught?
That is a robust figure. It's published by the Treasury, certified by the OBR. Currently, as I think you know, 73% of APR claims are less than £1 million, and 40% of APR goes to the 7% wealthiest claimants, and therefore I'm confident that this gets the balance right between raising the revenue that we needed to, but also protecting most of the estates.
The changes apply not just to agricultural property relief, they also apply to business property relief, do they not?
Yes.
Now, in practice, the figure that you've given us, 500 estates there, does not include estates where the land would have been passed on using business property relief, does it?
Well, I think that it does. I'll certainly go away.
No, I can assure you that it doesn't.
Well, the figure of 73% of APR claims are less than £1 million is a figure both from the Treasury and certified by the OBR.
As those who have had agricultural property relief. You can certainly come back to it.
Yeah.
If you are satisfied, Prime Minister, that 500 figure is not as robust as it may appear, and a lot of people have changed their mind on that in recent weeks, would you persuade the Chancellor to meet with the farming unions, because she has refused to do that thus far?
Well, I met, as you probably know, with the NFU President just a few weeks ago. Met actually previously on a number of occasions with his predecessor, and there's no issue with meeting, of course there isn't.
Well, but for the Chancellor of the Exchequer?
Well, that'll be a matter for her, but there's no in principle. I mean, I myself met the President of the NFU. I think that. Well,
Is it an example that you will be encouraging the Chancellor to follow?
The Chancellor will manage her own diary, but I mean, I took the view.
Well, I mean, we're laughing here, but, you know, we had one witness giving evidence to the Select Committee who, when talking about the impact on his farming business, broke down.
Yep.
So there are a lot of people who don't find this funny. How does it make you feel to hear that witnesses were breaking down before my Select Committee?
Well, of course, nobody's comfortable with that, but that is why I took the decision to have a meeting with the President of the NFU, to invite him in for a meeting with me, not with a great fanfare, but just for a private meeting, so that I could hear for myself first-hand from him as to the points that he wanted to make understandably.
With a view to making changes?
I'm sorry?
With a view to making changes?
Well, no, we've got the policy, we've set out the policy, and I was clear about that, but did I want to hear what he had to say in a respectful way? Yes, of course I did.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carmichael.